Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of information and distill it down to those critical nuggets, giving you that shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a fascinating roundup of the latest in artificial intelligence. This isn't just a list of headlines. It's really a look at how fast the landscape is shifting, from breakthroughs that feel like science fiction to the cautionary tales emerging as AI integrates into, well, every corner of our lives.
Indeed. And you've given us AI News, the pulse of machine intelligence, which is a fantastic snapshot. It covers everything from cutting-edge research to real-world applications, and of course the policy discussions shaping AI's future. So our mission for you today is really to pull out the most surprising facts and crucial insights from these sources. The idea is to give you a comprehensive understanding of where AI stands right now and maybe where it might be headed.
Okay, so as we dive into this pulse check of machine intelligence, what immediately jumps out to you? Where should we maybe begin unpacking this week's AI developments?
Perhaps we could start with some of the more, well, surprising and creative applications. I was really intrigued by how generative AI is stepping into the fashion world. Seems almost counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really is. And what's particularly compelling here is the collaboration between different AI models. You have researchers at Pusan National University.
Right.
They used ChatGPT-4 essentially as a creative director.
Okay.
And then DLE-3 as the photographer.
Right.
To forecast fall-winter 2024 menswear trends. So ChatGPT mined these older reports, pre-2021, translating trends into design language, silhouettes of fabric. And then DLE went and created 105 photorealistic runway looks based on that.
AI designing clothes. It really challenges our ideas about creativity, doesn't it? What were the results like? Did it, grasp the subtlety? Well, the images showed some impressive stuff like faux vuitton swagger and Marni textures. But yeah, DLE did kind of stumble on subtler cues.
Like what?
Things like gender fluid cuts, and sometimes it produced a glitchy sleeve, apparently.
Oh, okay.
But the key takeaway is that AI massively accelerates the ideation phase. It could draft seasonal mood boards in hours, not weeks. But, and this is crucial, it still needs that seasoned eye from a human designer for fit, context, storytelling, the nuances.
Right.
So it carves out time for humans to do what they do best, essentially.
That human-machine partnership. It's a theme that keeps popping up, isn't it? Seems like success really hinges on getting that collaboration right.
Yeah.
And speaking of surprising, DeepMind's Aeneas model digging into ancient Roman history. That sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Oh, absolutely. This development really highlights how AI can augment human expertise in, well, really unexpected fields. Aeneas deciphers these battered Latin inscriptions by blending text and image inputs.
How does that work exactly?
Well, for instance, you feed it a picture of a marble shard reading US Populesque Romanus, and it can complete the famous phrase Senatus Populus Romanus. It achieves 72% accuracy in pinpointing geography across, I think, 62 former Roman provinces.
2%.
And it dates texts within about 13 years of expert consensus.
That's incredibly precise for ancient material. So beyond the accuracy, what's the practical impact for historians? Does it, change how they work?
Well, historians are reporting more aha moments. Aeneas' suggestions are matching decades of scholarship on really significant artifacts, like the Monumentum and Serenum. Now, there's a slight caution. Algorithms trained on these, tidy inscriptions might struggle with messy, hastily scratched graffiti.
Makes sense.
But DeepMind's opening the code to museums and schools, so these dusty stones are essentially becoming interactive data sets. It's a remarkable fusion, really ancient history and cutting-edge tech.
From ancient history to the stars. The progress in astronomy using AI sounds like it's just completely changing the game for discovery speed.
Absolutely. It's night and day. Traditionally, analyzing binary stars meant adjusting dozens of parameters, running physics simulations for weeks.
Weeks, right. I can imagine.
Villanova University's new deep learning network, though, trained on synthetic binaries, can map light curves directly to stellar masses and radii in, get this, seconds.
Seconds instead of weeks. That's a massive leap.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean for astronomers on a day-to-day basis?
It means they can batch process basically every eclipsing binary in known catalogs before they finish their morning coffee.
Wow.
And with over 99% accuracy matching the older, slower methods.
Okay.
And the ripple effect goes way beyond astronomy. Any field that's sort of shackled to heavy numerical models, think weather prediction, fluid dynamics, maybe financial risk, they now have a proof of concept, a way to drastically cut compute costs while speeding up discovery.
That's huge for scientific research across the board.
Mm.
And sticking with science, but moving to human health. I saw something about using AI for ADHD and autism diagnoses. That could potentially change so many lives, especially cutting down those wait times.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how AI might help tackle these bottlenecks in healthcare. The current process for ADHD and autism can mean waiting 7 months just to get on a clinic's list.
7 months, that's critical time.
Exactly. So Jorge V. Jose's group at Indiana University, they're proposing this sensor glove combined with deep learning.
A sensor glove, how does that work?
Participants trace simple shapes on a touchscreen, and these high-res sensors in the glove record about 220 motion variables per second,
Okay.
capturing really subtle micro-movements, roll, pitch, yaw things that apparently carry cognitive fingerprint.
Cognitive fingerprints, interesting. And how accurate is this approach looking?
Well, after just 15 minutes, the model can sort neurotypical from ADHD, ASD, or dual diagnoses with 70% plus accuracy.
70%. Okay.
And that climbs higher when they combine motion metrics. Now, critics do note the initial sample skewed a bit young, like 20-something.
Right, a limitation for now.
But the promise is definitely there. Cheap, quick first-pass screens. They could potentially flag kids for deeper evaluation much earlier, before those critical developmental windows close.
That's a really powerful potential application. And still on health, there's AI making drug design not just faster, but more transparent. That seems incredibly important.
It's a crucial development, absolutely. Duke University's PATH model, it combines algebraic topology, which is pretty complex math, with machine learning. And it doesn't just predict how a molecule binds to a protein, it actually explains atom by atom why that binding affinity emerges.
So it's not a black box anymore.
Exactly. Traditional prediction engines are fast, sure, but they're often opaque. You get the answer, but not the reasoning. And regulators, understandably, often demand that transparency.
So it's about building trust in the AI's output, giving scientists the why not just the what's.
Precisely. PATH is orders of magnitude faster than traditional methods. It flags non-binders early, and it integrates with existing tools like OSPREY. Cancer researchers are already using it to sift through chemical libraries. It replaces that sort of blind faith with traceable logic. Each prediction gives you a breadcrumb trail. It turns compliance headaches into clickable insights for chemists and regulators.
It really sounds like the why is becoming just as vital as the what in AI, especially in these critical fields. What about other medical advances? I saw things about AI in surgery or even designing new proteins.
Yeah, AI is moving on several fronts there. Researchers use generative models to design completely new protein binders.
Wow.
These binders can train T cells to target melanoma cells like homing missiles.
Missiles.
Yeah. Out of tens of thousands of AI designs, one candidate actually eliminated tumors in petri dishes.
That's incredible.
This workflow basically compresses months of receptor hunting into just days. It really points towards personalized immunotherapy, potentially delivered with unprecedented speed.
That's truly groundbreaking for cancer treatment. What's the next step? Are there big hurdles before clinical use?
That's the key question, scaling up and safety testing, obviously. And then you have the idea of AI actually assisting or maybe even performing surgery.
Right, the autonomous surgeon idea.
Yeah, a review in Science Robotics maps out that road. From current systems like Da Vinci robots, which are teleoperated, to potentially fully autonomous surgical bots. They've already used reinforcement learning and high-fidelity simulation to get robots suturing soft tissue in animals with minimal human help.
Minimal human help.
Yeah. Now, barriers remain, of course, regulation, explainability, trust. That's a big one.
Huge.
But the trend seems clear. Imagine disaster zones or deep space missions where expert surgeons are days away.
Right.
Autonomous systems could start with standardized subtasks, maybe like stapling, and then potentially graduate to entire procedures. It suggests a future where doctor in the loop might mean supervising an algorithm, not actually holding the scalpel.
That's a powerful vision, but definitely brings up those crucial questions around trust and oversight.
And shifting gears a bit, but still fundamental, there's new research connecting AI itself to, well, physics.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting for understanding AI at a deeper level. Researchers at the University of Tokyo found that deep neural networks can hit something called an absorbing phase.
Absorbing phase.
Yeah, it's where signals just stop propagating through the network, kind of like a forest fire burning itself out.
Okay.
By calculating certain values, critical exponents, they can actually predict if a network is even trainable before wasting huge amounts of computing power trying to train it.
So it's like a pre-flight check for an AI model, using physics principles to see if it's even worth launching.
Precisely. It makes AI development more efficient. And this discovery also neatly connects AI to physics, sharpens model selection, and it supports the critical brain hypothesis.
The idea that both biological brains and artificial ones might operate near these phase transitions to find the right balance between stability and creativity or adaptability, it's a real merging of disciplines happening right now.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, let's pivot now to how AI is shaking up the business world and maybe cybersecurity too. Thinking about finance, but also those critical systems like protecting our airwaves.
Right, and what's striking here is the sheer scale and efficiency AI brings. Take a company called Model ML, for example.
Okay.
It was used by the Englanders, a 6-person family office, and it totally transformed their operations using AI-native workflows. Model ML now automates things like quarterly earnings decks. It pulls data from multiple sources, puts together polished slide decks, and publishes them to SharePoint, all without any human clicks.
Automating quarterly earnings. That sounds like a dream for anyone who's ever had to build those reports. But are there risks in handing over that kind of analysis? What about subtleties human analysts might catch?
That's a really important point. The firms piloting this are generally reassigning analysts, moving them to more strategic tasks, letting the AI handle the drudgery. Their roadmap even includes agents that self-trigger based on real-world events, start workflows, and could potentially ship, say, a 100-page investment memo before breakfast.
Wow.
It's about embedding AI at the architecture level. That changes the game. It allows human talent to focus on judgment while the machines handle the blocking and tackling.
Embedding AI at the architecture level. What does that really mean for how a company functions day to day? How big a shift is that?
It means AI isn't just a tool you use occasionally. It's woven into the very fabric of how the company operates. It's in the workflows, the data pipelines, the decision support, right from the ground up. It enables this seamless automation.
Right, a fundamental shift.
Yeah. And speaking of critical systems, you mentioned transformers, the tech behind models like ChatGPT. How are they impacting wireless security?
Exactly. Tell us more about that. How does that same tech bolster defenses against, say, jamming or other interference?
Well, it's a powerful demonstration of AI's versatility. A team at Clemson University trained an automatic modulation recognition system using that transformer architecture.
Okay.
They used 30 million real-world signals. Under normal conditions, it labels modulation types with about 94% accuracy.
Pretty good.
But here's the really impressive part. Even under active jamming, it still nails the identification 71% of the time.
71% even with jamming.
Exactly. That's a significant leap over older methods, which tend to just collapse when the noise spikes.
So it can keep communication lines robust, even when adversaries are actively trying to disrupt them. That's a serious upgrade for, well, defense and critical infrastructure.
Precisely. The U.S. Army is already testing it. It's just a crisp reminder that the same math that generates stories can also keep drones on course when someone's trying to flood the spectrum.
Which leads us neatly into some of the broader societal questions, doesn't it? Like AI's impact on jobs, the workforce. That Fortune Brainstorm AI Summit sounded like it tackled some critical issues. What were the main takeaways there?
Yeah, it's a huge conversation we need to be having. LinkedIn's Payne Chua made a great point. 1 in 10 roles hired last year didn't even exist 20 years ago.
Wow, 1 in 10.
So the solution isn't about, clinging to titles. It's about investing in people, learning basic AI skills, being ready to pivot as roles morph, treating your career like a portfolio, not some static ladder.
I've heard that phrase, AI won't take your job, but the colleague who commands AI might. Did that idea come up?
Absolutely. Indeed's Madhu Kuv warned of exactly that scenario. There's this weird feedback loop emerging. Companies use chatbots to screen resumes, which then triggers people to use resume writing bots to get past the chatbots. So you end up with language models talking to each other while humans are just waiting for callbacks.
That sounds inefficient. And frustrating.
Right. So speakers at the summit really urged companies, keep humans in the loop, especially for assessing soft skills. And crucially, fund retraining. Make sure your talent evolves alongside the tools. The focus should be on protecting workers, not specific static job titles.
That's such a critical point for anyone thinking about their career right now, and maybe shifting to a more personal level.
Yeah.
The rise of AI companions, even AI girlfriends, That brings up some really complex ethical and psychological questions, doesn't it?
It really does. And it
Yeah.
seems to be moving from just a tech novelty towards something more like a public health discussion point.
Hmm.
Psychologists are flagging a definite spike in these AI companions designed for emotional and even sexual responsiveness. One survey suggested 1 in 5 men on dating apps has actually experimented with an AI girlfriend.
1 in 5. That's
Yeah.
significant.
And the market could hit something like $9.5 billion by 2028.
So what are the main concerns being raised around this?
Well, they primarily revolve around things like addiction, potential for increased social withdrawal, and importantly, blurred consent boundaries, especially when avatars are made to mimic real people without their permission.
Right, the deepfake issue applied personally.
Exactly. Now, some proponents suggest synthetic partners might maybe curb exploitation in the sex industry,
Okay.
but mental health experts are warning about dysregulated impulse control, particularly in still developing adult brains. It's a conversation that definitely needs careful ethical consideration sooner rather than later.
Definitely. And zooming out again to the geopolitical landscape, AI is clearly a massive focus for governments. We're seeing different strategies emerge, like those executive orders from former President Trump that were mentioned.
Right, and understanding these different policy approaches is crucial. So, former President Trump signed 3 relevant executive orders. One was aimed at fast-tracking data center permitting, cutting some environmental reviews.
Right.
A second bundled chips, models, and software together for export controls. And a third banned, quote, woke AI from federal procurement, insisting on politically neutral outputs.
Politically neutral AI. How are orders like that being received? I imagine there are strong opinions.
Oh, absolutely. Supporters frame them as a necessary competitiveness play for the U.S. Critics tend to call it politicized science.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of your viewpoint, the practical outcome is that companies building advanced AI now have these new compliance hurdles. They have to demonstrate ideological neutrality, whatever that ends up meaning in practice. And that's going to play out in courts, boardrooms, server farms.
It really highlights that tight intersection of tech and policy. How does America's broader AI action plan stack up against what's happening elsewhere, say, in China? Are the priorities similar or different?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, both the U.S. and China are very actively shaping their AI futures, though perhaps with different emphasis. China's AI funding pulse seems to be picking up again. Foreign money is flowing back to Chinese AI startups.
Yeah.
There's an $8.2 billion national AI fund, plus provincial incentives. And despite chip restrictions, local teams are getting clever, pivoting to open source code and hardware optimization. Forecasts put China's core AI market at maybe $140 billion by 2030, with the broader AI-enabled GDP boost potentially topping $1.4 trillion.
Wow.
Now, foreign investors are still cautious, data rules, geopolitical tensions, but it's hard to ignore a market that prototypes, deploys, and scales at, well, warp speed.
And the U.S. side of that comparison.
America's AI action plan seems aligned in part with safety playbooks like Anthropic's. It calls for fast-track data center permits, public-private cloud sharing, national AI apprenticeships, and those export controls on high-bandwidth chips we mentioned.
Okay.
Federal funding is being directed towards things like interpretability research, understanding why AI makes decisions, and adversarial robustness, trying to curb misuse in sensitive areas like biotech or cyber warfare. Critics argue the transparency rules maybe still lack teeth. Supporters counter that the voluntary safety frameworks being adopted by leading labs are setting a good tone. But the overarching narrative seems to be that responsible leadership and cutting-edge capability have to advance hand in hand.
It's definitely clear AI governance is a huge global priority. But looking at some more positive societal impacts, those Newsweek AI Impact Awards showcase some pretty fascinating applications too. What stood out there?
Yeah, those awards are great for highlighting where innovation actually sticks, when it solves real human problems, respects ethics, and scales responsibly. Some winners included X-Human, which crafts these emotionally intelligent companions specifically to battle loneliness. They reported 90-minute average chat times.
90 minutes, that's deep engagement.
Exactly. Then there was Fal.ai, building generative media backbones for things like infinite ad variations or photorial product shots. EO rolled out a responsible AI framework trying to get ahead of regulation by baking compliance into projects from the start.
Smart.
And companies like Faribault and Axon were recognized for blending breakthrough biology and public safety tools.
Those sound like really solid examples of AI making a tangible, positive difference. And, beyond the big policy debates and workforce shifts, AI is also starting to subtly reshape our everyday experiences. On a lighter note, that Tesla Retro Future Diner, the one with the popcorn bot, sounds like a fun glimpse into that.
It does, yeah. It's on Santa Monica Boulevard, designed to feel like this mashup of Happy Days, Blade Runner, and an EV charging station.
Uh-huh. Quite the mix.
Right. You've got Optimus, the humanoid robot, scooping popcorn while Cybertrucks charge outside. It's basically a proof of concept that EV charging can be entertainment. It suggests that maybe roadside stops could morph into these mini-tech theme parks where robots handle your snacks while your car battery refills.
It's like a little real-world demo of where customer service and infrastructure might be heading.
Okay, and shifting from public spaces back to something really personal. For anyone listening who uses AI daily, that PLUM model for chatbot memory sounded incredibly useful. Oh, absolutely. This addresses a common frustration, right? The PLUM pipeline lets chatbots actually remember past conversations.
How does it do that?
It works by augmenting past chats into positive and negative Q&A pairs, fine-tuning the model with something called low-rank adapters, and then basically baking that knowledge directly into the model's weights.
So finally, no more having to remind your AI assistant that you absolutely hate pineapple on pizza or re-explain your project preferences every single time.
Exactly, that's the idea. No more bloated context windows or slow retrieval databases. Yet it apparently rivals the accuracy of more complex systems while seriously slashing storage needs.
Okay.
And because it trains sequentially, PLUM respects the order of conversation. So your assistant can recall you prefer Python over JavaScript, for example, without that lag or hitting your cloud bill hard. Plus, as privacy rules tighten, this kind of parameter-efficient personalization that can stay on your device, that could become the standard.
That would be a huge improvement for user experience.
Wow. Okay, this was truly a deep dive into the pulse of machine intelligence. We've covered everything from AI fashion directors and ancient Roman texts to finance, surgery bots, and the future of work. It's clear AI is definitely not a monolith. So, stepping back, what does this all mean for us? What are the really big takeaways for you from this wide-ranging snapshot?
Yeah, it's a lot to process, isn't it? But I think three overarching themes really cut through the noise for me. First, the why is now as important as the what. We saw this with the path model in drug design, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about predicting faster, it's about explaining the mechanism.
Right, the transparency.
Exactly. Transparency is sitting shoulder to shoulder with velocity now. It builds trust, helps with regulation, and actually deepens human understanding by showing how things work, whether it's drug binding or even neural network behavior.
Okay, that's a big one. What's the second?
Second, infrastructure is destiny. This came up with the data centers, the power grids, those export-controlled chips.
This underlying stuff is silently shaping national agendas, from Washington to Beijing. It's becoming clear that without these foundational elements, even the most brilliant code just goes nowhere. It's a critical factor in global AI leadership.
Infrastructure is destiny. I like that. Okay, and the third?
And third, the redefinition of human expertise. Think about the fashion director guiding AI, the surgeon potentially supervising a bot, the analyst focusing on strategy while AI handles the grunt work.
Yeah.
Human judgment isn't being replaced, it's being reprioritized. Our role seems to be shifting towards ethical oversight, strategic direction, asking the right questions. It reminds us we need to protect workers and their adaptability, not static roles, and balance innovation with things like consent and ethics. The most valuable skill might just be how well we partner with and critically evaluate these advanced systems.
That's a really insightful summary. This has been such an illuminating deep dive. It's clear the machine intelligence race is really just finding its stride.
Yeah.
And, well, our relationship with AI is evolving practically by the minute.
It really is, and it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? As AI gets more and more sophisticated, as it handles more of the mundane and maybe even some of the miraculous, what new forms of human creativity, collaboration, and problem solving will emerge when we're truly freed up to focus on what only humans can do?
That is an excellent question to mull over. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the pulse of machine intelligence. We hope it's given you plenty to think about until our next exploration.